If we're trading Bitcoin, all I was going to say was this. I tell everybody, if you're comfortable risking 100% of what you put into crypto, then take the risk. So let's have this discussion. Let's talk longer term. Now, again, at any time, if you guys want to grab the screen, show trades, I will mark it up on mine if I'm like the master screen share here. I'm happy to mark it, put your names on it, label the trade, give me the numbers. We're going to be trading Bitcoin tonight. We'll be talking about, what the timeline is. I mean, if you're looking for, Jerome, if you want to trade it for today to tomorrow, are we looking for now until the time that we're done here in 30 to 45 minutes? Again, all things flexible, but we're going to have to declare a winner based on kind of end of our session today and also over the next 5 days. So I want to talk big picture. I'd like, let's start with Nick. If we're looking at Bitcoin, you're looking at the chart, let's tie this back into the US markets. Let's tie this back into risk on, risk off. Give me your long-term perspective on what you think Bitcoin means to the world.
Sure. So Bitcoin, I've held Bitcoin for a long time. A while ago, I was inspired by some of the bigger names. Like I think Kevin O'Leary had like switched over his thoughts and he was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to expose myself just a little bit to Bitcoin. I took the same approach a couple of years back and I've held it since about 2019. So longer term, being less trying to leave prediction out of it, I think it's got like a rising, market share in terms of online interest. And so as long as that goes on, I'm going to try and continue to just let it ride, let the stuff that I have hold. In terms of the shorter term, that's another story, but longer term, I think it has a place in the future. I think it's something that I've used several times in my own, career path. I've paid people in Bitcoin. I've been paid in Bitcoin, it's just something I see usable in several ways. And I think that is probably only going to continue into the future.
Okay, I like it. Jerome, your thoughts?
I think definitely I believe Bitcoin has potential. So obviously a lot of the crypto market is still a lot of speculation in it. So, I mean, a lot of people, I have realized there are a lot more average people, retail investors getting into crypto, a lot more people trading it, whether that's just due to the hype or people have a belief behind Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But I'm pretty sure I read something on Twitter earlier today that the number of people holding a total of 1 Bitcoin has reached an all-time high. So definitely, obviously, with the recent dips and, the crashes we've had in crypto, I can see a lot of people taking advantage of that and, accumulating more crypto, especially Bitcoin. So I do believe that, how it does have some type of purpose. Like Nick was saying, I've paid for things with Bitcoin before, and once again, I've received Bitcoin. So it does have somewhat of a real world value to it. So definitely, I see long term, with everything that's happened with, I'm sure, you've all heard of what happened with Luna and everything. Yes. Hopefully that does correct and show people that it is still a lot of speculation and it can be risky, but the way Bitcoin handles itself and how it kind of always has those dips and it's been up year on year. So I think hopefully we'll see a lot more of these retail investors. Yes, there is money to be made and a lot of money in crypto, kind of, speculating on the small cap cryptos and the altcoins, but, as a store of value, as people do call it, definitely Bitcoin I see some purpose in that for sure.
Excellent thoughts from both of you. I wanted to say, as far as here's what I've said for the last couple of years. I was kind of the same way, introduced to cryptos, like started to know more a little bit more about Bitcoin, explore a little bit more, but, I've kind of stayed in my own lane. I mean, I'm in a stocks and options trader for, stocks for 20 years, options for the last 8 years, Forex for the last 12 years, 13 years, 14 years, 2008. Good at math. I've said for the last few years, like I didn't really start getting involved in cryptos until like 2019, 2020, tracking it very closely in 2018 at that peak at 20K. I waited for just a simple, we want to talk technicals tonight. If we zoom in here and we talk about that technical correction, it was when the CME created the futures market around Bitcoin. And we had this parabolic run. I remember looking at charts, finding some technicals, finding pivots and saying, hey, this 3,000 level would be a great spot to buy. We have a low to high, higher low to higher high, another pullback level, past resistance becomes support, and then the move goes parabolic. And this was, I distinctly remember this because it's kind of a, where were you when? And I was on vacation. Holidays for me, I try to get out of I'm up in Michigan, so I'm trying to get out of the winter. And this whole time we're watching it creep up towards $20,000. And I mean, again, it's like where's it going? Nobody knows. And it's just like, that looks like a bubble, right? It looks like it's overbought. It looks like all these things where you feel a little bit uncomfortable buying this high. So here's what I did. I waited for the high, low, lower, high, lower, low correction. And there was perfect symmetry right there. I started to get in Bitcoin at this area. So, I mean, I'm fortunate just being around in the trading arena. And you know, maybe we're really, really fortunate and lucky that we've been trading for, you know, Nick, you've been trading for 6 years here, and, you know, Jerome for the last 4 or 5 years. But how much have you both experienced in the last 6 years, the last 4 years? Like, I'd say that you have both went through a crash course of highs and lows and volatility, and you've probably learned more in the last 4 to 6 years than, look, I've been trading for 20 plus years. It has been, every year is a different challenge. Every year has its own, you know, ups and downs. And that's why, you know, this show is so perfect to call it a trading battle, because that's what we're constantly doing from, you know, year to year. It's us versus the markets. You know, I mean, we can sit here and have fun together, but it's us versus the market. So if we're trading Bitcoin, all I was going to say was this. I tell everybody, if you're comfortable risking 100% of what you put into crypto, then take the risk. Like, that's what I'm saying. I mean, family, friends, anybody that's interested, if you know, $1,000 to you doesn't change your life, you know, if you lost it all, $10,000, $50,000, if you can part ways with it and literally turn it to zero and be okay with that, I would park that money in Bitcoin as the potential asymmetrical trade of who knows what it is. Speculation, is it 100 grand? Is it 250? Is it $1 million? You know, we can shoot for the sky or whatever, but we just don't know. I mean, it is a lot of potential, a lot of hope. I will say this: there's a lot of really terrible things going on in the world, and I will say there's some optimism that comes with talking about cryptos and talking about what it can actually do. You know, so on a positive note, I really like that, and I know that, you know, today you guys are trading for 2 great charities. We have. What do we have here? Where's my? Oh yeah, Beyond Blue and the ECPA. So, the EC. Is it just acronyms, ECPAT, or is it? You want me to call?
I've always said ECPAT. I've always said
okay.
ECPAT. I think that's the way of saying it.
Okay. Well, I have it right here. So for any proceeds of trading profits, ECPAT and Beyond Blue. So good stuff. We'll talk about that later. All right, gentlemen, back to the charts. What are we looking at right now? Let's get into the trenches here. What do you think? Go ahead.
Chris, I wanted to respond to something you said there. I thought you made a great point about the last 5 or 6 years. And
Yes.
It doesn't matter which market you have been trading. Do you focus on currencies, cryptos, indices, commodities? It doesn't matter. The last 6 years have been a really interesting roller coaster because my background is in computer science. A lot of what I started out in trading and investing was back testing, studying, you know, statistics. I was in college studying statistics, and I would, you know, try and learn something in class. Wasn't very good at it, but I would come home and find an interest in it in the markets. And a lot of what I found was, you know, the market, I've always been attracted to this chart right here. This is the VIX, and we'll pull that up here so you can see it. So the VIX is an interesting concept for maybe viewers who aren't familiar. I'm sure you guys have heard or seen the VIX before. I'd be surprised if you hadn't. The VIX is basically just a volatility index. It's a way to look at, you know, it's a glorified fear gauge, basically. And in the last 6 years, we had a really interesting roller coaster of different times. And to your point, we have seen several different market environments. We've seen periods of very low volatility back when I first got started in trading, 2016, 2017, 2018, relatively calm times. 2018 was the first time I saw a major spike in volatility. The markets were down, I think 25%. The S&P fell,
End of year.
something in that neighborhood. And then, of course, 2020, massive change, just absolutely blindsided me and probably a lot of other traders who had never experienced something like that. As it goes, right? If you've never seen it before, it's just totally new to you, but it's not the first time we've had craziness like that. But it's definitely the first time I had lived through it, traded through it. So regardless of whether you are trading or investing, that change in volatility is something that every trader, every investor can only truly learn through experience when you go through it and when you experience it firsthand. I think you really had to be adaptive in the last few years since the 2020 massive spike in volatility. Things have changed in markets. Things, you know, trading the same way that you were trading 4 or 5 years ago, you know, it may not be entirely different, but you may have had to adjust a little bit to take into account the higher volatility. Maybe you're reducing your position size. Maybe you're widening stops if you use them, and the way that you use different trading vessels, different trading strategies. You've kind of had to be a little bit adaptive. So I just wanted to respond to that. And this volatility, yes, it's on the S&P 500, but it's been impacted everywhere. Right now, we're seeing the S&P 500 take a massive dip, and along with it, it's no doubt in my mind that that's the same reason we're seeing crypto fall off a cliff. Unfortunately, for the crypto bulls, the issue that I see, and I'm a crypto bull myself, unfortunately, the risk on nature of Bitcoin doesn't escape right now, at least, the S&P 500's drop. So when we take a look at, SPX 500, the stock market, right, coming down hard with everything going on, especially if you look at like the NAS 100, the NASDAQ, just absolutely falling off a cliff. And it looks very synonymous when you look at Bitcoin. It's had a similar pullback at the same time. So I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I just wanted to, talking about market environments the last 5 years, see what you guys think about that. Maybe Jerome, I'd love to hear like what you think, because you trade currencies, right? And as well
Definitely,
as US30. What's your reaction to all that? I'm curious.
So I think it's good points, and interesting with the volatility and stuff. I think coming back to kind of describing the nature of the stock market being like, I look at it as, my perspective is just emotions and, fear, greed, euphoria, all those type of things. And coming into all that volatility, a lot of investors and new people getting into the market, they start to see potential, massive gains, stocks going crazy, parabolic, crypto going parabolic. And, they get, some people made a lot of money, some people lost a lot of money. And that nature of the volatility with essentially like, with all the geopolitical events happening right now, from how I scope it and the people I've been talking to, they're still pretty much holding a massive bag of crypto, because they were still in that euphoric stage of making so much money, and they just got greedy. They never took profits along the way. And unfortunately, they're now holding a bag. And I think with that volatility comes in with, the fear factor of what's happening currently with everything going on in the world. So, I mean, the way I see it, and talking about like risk on, risk off, like at the minute, I personally, with my long-term investment portfolio, and even with trading, is I'm getting a little bit more aggressive and taking advantage of current volatility in the market. But I'm also being a lot more strategic and aggressive in my trade management. So like, I primarily trade the 1 minute chart. And so basically, the way I do it with systematic approaches is I've noticed, and the trend, even from back testing, the 1 minute chart on US30 back from 2019, seeing the current volatility pick up within 2020, even trends amongst cryptos and stuff, is I do notice when I have been trading this this year is more or less I get stopped out a lot more often than not, where I'm placing my current stop losses and stuff. And that's just due to that nature of the volatility. So I have had to adapt in my systems and strategy, and to kind of give more breathing room in these trades, because they're, as I am forecasting and doing my technical analysis, it's not that I'm basically essentially getting the direction somewhat correct. I'm about a 55% strike rate trader. And it's just, as I started trading, like I was saying, I always kept getting wicked out and the trade would go in my direction, super frustrating. But it is what it is. And since giving my system a little bit more breathing room, I've since corrected that through the volatility. So it definitely is, being able to adapt in these current market scenarios and understanding when you should be more aggressive, and also know when to kind of step back and, lower your risk on the trades. And even with trade management, taking profits, even just like I was saying, reducing risk on trades.